Let us start with slide 13. As you all can see, there are two basic dimensions to education or educating. One is educational sociology and educational psychology. So, how these two areas, two perspectives are being related to you. Now, as I told you earlier, also I'm so sure that you are teachers. Now, sociological aspect of teaching is very important. Sociology is the human relationships, how you relate to others, very especially in this teaching endeavor. You need to relate yourself to other teachers and the students. They're the immediate group of attention you are provided with. And also, just not stopping from there, you have parish priest and the assistant parish priest and the sisters, and maybe somebody who is in charge of you, and the parents, and whole array of people you have. So it is always good to maintain a good rapport, a relationship with these dignitaries and these personalities. So that is extremely important. That relationship enables you to flourish in your teaching. And also educational psychology. Now this is very important. How you understand the student, how you look at student, in which ways, in which perspectives, in which kind of tools you can use to understand how this student behaves like this. That is important in the sense you are able to understand the ins and outs of the people, and also the inner disposition and the exterior disposition of the person, shall we say the student whom you are entrusted with. So that is important, the sociological aspect of teaching and the psychological aspect of teaching. Let us go to the next slide. What is the pedagogy of catechism, under which we are just continuing our journey? Cordial relationship with parents, that is important. Now you might meet these students once a week on a Sunday. So I'm so sure you occasionally meet these parents. Sometimes they speak to you, so you need to understand their mentality and kind of what they expect of you. So that is important in the sense that the cordial relationship rapport, you're able to understand your children. Secondly, put into the shoe of the student. This is also important factor in deciding who a teacher is and what kind of a teacher you can become. You need to understand the total empathetical understand. That is to say, you understand the students with his or her entirety. You know the family background, the social background perhaps, and the difficulties the child goes through in life. So these are also connected to your teaching or teaching life. Knowing the family background, something related to the second point. uh, you know Knowing the situation and knowing the background, it is easy for you to understand and understand the student. Looking after the spiritual needs of the student, it is not only bookish knowledge, as I very correctly told you earlier. It is the experiential knowledge, the practical knowledge, and very especially that knowledge is governed and strengthened by your spiritual life. Your spiritual life is equally important. So you be a guide to the student, and being guide to the students only, you try to live this teaching life, being a catechist. And lastly, observe the students in and out of the classroom leisurely. You are an observer, observing agent of the student. It's not only the parents who are guardians of these children. You're also spiritual guardian of these children whom you teach for. So you need to have this scope in mind in teaching. Let's go to the next slide. Content of catechism. Now we have a special content of catechism based on age level, age level based. One, as you know, as teachers, perhaps we also have in school set up a primary and junior secondary and secondary, and the steps to follow like that. So age based. So in Dhampasla we have age based classes. So it's always good to direct our teaching accordance with the class we are to teach. Some kind of different stuff to primary students, and maybe, as I told you, junior secondary school and secondary school. So it's always important to understand the intensity with which you should teach to the different levels and classes of the students. Textbook for the grade. Now your guide is the textbook, the theoretical guide is textbook. You must not be enslavish to these textbooks, but always you must refer to these textbooks. That is very important. Okay. And importance of the lesson plan. Okay, it should be corrected as importance of lesson plan. You must also prepare your lesson plans and lesson notes. In the sense, you must have at least kind of a preparatory ground for you to start your teaching, and how you prepare beforehand what you're going to teach on next Sunday. So that preparation is very important. Must go beyond the textbook and speak with your life examples. So that is obviously you are sharing your life with the students, a spiritual enrichment and your exposure and your experience. You are sharing that with the students. Nourish your teaching content with book source books. Okay, that is say you are always in a position. You must always have the avid interest to read more and be nourished by those sources, not just be limit yourself to the textbook. So always you must be a finder of knowledge. You must discover the knowledge. You must have to have an interest to do so. Okay, we'll go to the next slide. um, it's apostolic exhortation, and written by late Saint Pope John II, uh, Catechism Tridente. That document, it's very important. It's one of the masterpieces of Catechism, written by one of the renowned theologian. All right. So this apostolic exhortation would advise us on certain aspects of Catechism. So let me go by one by one. Catechism should be methodical and clear. So it's quite clear in the sense, with the statement also it gives. You must be clear in your presentation. Whatever you give to the students, you must know what you're teaching, what you're sharing, what you're transmitting to the students. Inclusion of points and no unnecessary details. So it should be point wise, clear cut expression of yourself, not for verification but strictly for faith. As I told you earlier also, it is not to prove something in nature or something in mathematics or science. So it's basically a central point of focus must be faith, the giving of faith to the students through these textbooks knowledge. And this textbook content must be incorporated with our faith life. Every lesson should reach completion. That means you need to have a kind of a journey oriented expression of teaching, right? You go one by one, but you need to complete, and you need to have kind of a fulfilled idea at the end. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Now, if you can see three wheels mentioned and displayed in the slide, to explain the content accurately, to mold the students accordingly, to help students to live it. Whatever you give, you must make an atmosphere for the students to practice. So you be a model, and you inviting the students to practice it. Now emulating you, and by looking at you, the students are able to get at it. I must live this way. Yes, this is what my teacher taught me, and I must try to live this, and I must try to practice this. So it's a kind of a transmitting your faith experience to the students. Okay, now uh, this is the last part of your lesson. That is the content basing on which you must fashion your teaching. The preliminary books, the Holy Bible, the character studies of saints, that is very important. You at least you must read few books of saints. You must uh, take whatever the good things, the values, and how they look at life, and how they experiences experienced Jesus, and how they react to the situations of life in a saintly life. So those saintly characters are very important. Religious papers and magazines you must read, and you must enrich your knowledge, very especially Vatican Council documents that gives a whole array, a scenario of all the important documents. I'm so sure you have the singular version of it and English version of it, and you need to analytically read it, critically read it, perhaps critical in the sense that has to be a kind of faith journey connected to yourself. Maybe Sunday homilies of the fathers, your parish priest, and the priest, who the priest may preach on the pulpit, and Catechism of the Catholic Church. I'm so sure we have the Sinhalese version of it also. So you have a golden opportunity to go through and brush through and just go through the texts, and then courses and examination relevant to the Catholicism. You're also following one exam, so always it's good to enrich your knowledge, improve of the personal knowledge about Jesus and of Jesus. That is important. So let us go to the next slide. That is a summary of all what we have been listening to you have been listening to. We have just covered introduction and main objectives of catechism, and pedagogy of catechism, and qualities of a good catechist rather, and content of catechism. So if you just go through this the few slides, you'll be able to understand the major points of catechism. So it's my personal invitation for you: read more, and have a kind of intensity to love Jesus and to love your students. Thank you, and may God bless you.